We'll be diving right into our newspaper review. First, we have a Daily Trust. Right in front, we have EFCC quizzes Mele Kyari over $7.2 billion refinery fund. We have gunmen kill 3 police officers, 5 soldiers in Kogi, Zamfara. That's on page 21 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Tinubu directs EFCC committee to crash food prices. That's on page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Federal government to arraign 2 captured Ansara commanders today. That's on page 21 if you want more information. 4 children, 8 others die in a tanker accident. That's on page 14. Still on the Daily Trust newspaper. We have 4 children, 8 others. Early campaign threatens democracy, says INEC. That's on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Right in front, we have a picture. Enugu wins 100 million Renewed Hope Model Green State Award. That's on the front page of Daily Trust. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed. All right, next up.
All right, next up, we'll take a look at Punch newspaper, and the border headline states 2027 police INEC move against the early campaigns. PDP ADC accuse APC of violating rules, call for penalties. IG vows to enforce laws. APC denies campaigning, says Tinubu. Party respect rule of law. NNPP urges caution, and that's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And just above the bolder headline, federal government rakes in 600 billion naira VAT from Facebook others, and that's on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. And then we have Reps Grill Edun Bagudu over 2024-2025 budget delays. That's on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. And then also we have Yobe holds mass burial as bandits kill 84. That's on page 14 of the Punch. And below the bolder headline, we have Tinubu, Macron have lunch amid France political tension. That's on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. Our terror attack suspect lost bail bid. That's on page 3 of the Punch. Then we have police arrest Obi of Lagos. Fuel installation. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And then we have EFCC quizzes ex-NNPC GMD Kyari over refinery contract. That's on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Do well to get yourself a copy to stay informed.
All right, next up, we have the Guardian newspaper. Right in front, we have federal government boasts 80% 2024 budget execution, cites procurement hurdles for 2025. That's on page 6 of the Guardian. Obasanjo calls for lasting partnerships as IATF closes with $48.3 billion deals. That's on page 5 of the Guardian. INEC legitimizes ADC leadership, raises alarm over premature campaigns. That's on page 6 of the Guardian. At the top left, we have grid collapse may worsen as Gencos lose 66.26 billion naira, 1,866 megawatts to load rejection. That's on page 3 if you want more. Nigeria records 15,000 suicide cases yearly. That's on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. Tinubu orders EFCC committee to crash food prices. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, that is all we have on the Guardian. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, then we'll move ahead to reviewing our national dailies, and analyst is here this morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, let's move straight ahead to Daily Trust, and where the border headline says EFCC quizzes Mele Kyari over $7.2 billion refinery fund. What is your take on this?
Well, it's clear that the former NNPC GMD actually visited the EFCC by himself. He honored their invitation, and you can see from some of the advertisements that appeared on the front pages of some of these newspapers we have reviewed that, he was ready for it because this message of hard questions, hard answers, trying to deflate the things that are going on. But the issue of corruption in NNPC did not start with Mele Kyari. I remember even the present president, I think in 2014 or so, once referred to NNPC as the ATM of the then ruling government. I don't know to what extent that has changed under his own administration. And I also don't like the way the EFCC has handled this issue, because you can see all the papers are just quoting sources. They refuse to confirm anything. You just giving out information. If you are not willing to own up to the information that you are given, I don't think we should be all over the place with the news. Probably you are not halfway even with your investigation, and then you are looking for some things just to show that you are working. But like I said, even the former NNPC was, from what you can see, he was ready for it. So like so many papers are quoting sources, nobody knows whether he has been allowed to go maybe and resume some other time. Nobody knows. So the EFCC should come out clean, about this. This is about investigation. And rightly or wrongly, Nigerians have this perception of lots of, corruption, underhand dealings, lack of transparency in the NNPC. So it's not just about the former NNPC boss, like I said. It's about the institution itself. And maybe the quicker we do away with that, the better for the country and even the institution itself.
All right, let's look at this Tinubu directs effect committee to crash food prices. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a good story. So many people will say the prices of food, are beyond what ordinary Nigerians can actually afford. But then you also have to consider those that are in the business of the food chain, value chain, because they are putting their own money. Are they able to recover? Like if you allow importers to bring in food, what happens to those that are doing it in the country? They are spending their own money, and then what comes into the country, probably because it's been subsidized by the respective governments of those countries, they tend to come cheaper than what you produce here locally. So even though I appreciate the fact that the president is concerned about the complaints of Nigerians about the rising prices of food, he should also consider those that are in the business, because it will make no sense to score a goal in this side and then score another own goal in another part. So like I said, I think the president should also consider those that are in the business, so that we don't end up killing their investments. Some collected money from the banks, borrowed just to be able to be players in this sector. So if you don't allow them to be able to make some profit, then you will be killing the business, and it will not be good for the economy in the long run.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at this other headline. Early campaign threatens democracy. Now we had, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, he raised concerns over the growing trend of premature political campaigns in Nigeria. I mean, what is your take on that?
Well, the problem is, what do we even mean by campaigns? Because I think the problem has to do with even the definition. Like he said at the meeting with stakeholders, so many people think it's when you have like 24 hours to election, or when you have politicians on podiums, making all these promises and what have you. That's what you mean by campaign. But even from what happens, when you see journalists questioning politicians, some of the things that they say, you can consider them as campaign. So it has to do with the even definition itself. Maybe like he said, the National Assembly should come up with a legislation that will be clear, what constitutes early campaign, you know, what are the things that politicians are allowed to do, what are they not allowed to do, so that we don't have this problem. And sadly, we are asking the same politicians, you know, to make a law against things that we are accusing them of perpetrating. So I see it as being very difficult, you know, for them to willingly, you know, do a law that will stop them from, you know, showing some of their achievements and what have you. And like, you know, he also mentioned it at the stakeholders forum that Nigerian politicians, somehow, they are perpetually in a campaign mood. You know, once you are elected into office, rather than face, you know, the job of the office, you know, you start thinking of re-election and what have you. Whatever you do is targeted towards ensuring that you are re-elected, and not just performing the role that the job that you were elected to perform. So, like he said, if the National Assembly is able to come up with a law, fine and good, but we need to define at the initial. We need to define what do we mean by campaign, because right now, if you ask so many politicians, they will tell you what they are doing is not campaign, because you don't see posters flying around. Like I said, so many people consider campaigns to be, you know, distribution of posters and what have you. And it's much more than that. Mm-hmm. So let them be clear about what constitutes early campaign, and then we now consider the way to go about handling them.
Okay. All right. Let's look at The Guardian. Right in front, where federal government boasts of 80% 2024 budget execution and cites procurement hurdles for 2025. So what is your take on that?
Well, the problem with that, we don't even know the number of budgets that the federal government is running at presently. You know, is it the 2024 budget? Is it the 2025 budget, which is supposed to be like, you know, like 80% of it. But right now, they are talking about 2024 because, you know, the National Assembly extended the lifespan of that budget to enable the government to do a number of things. But the problem is you don't even know which of the budgets, you know, some of the things that they are doing. They are talking about the fact that they have succeeded in doing 80%. These are just the numbers. We need to go maybe to the MDAs and see those that are like all the contracts that they were supposed to give, you know, the monies that they were supposed to expend. Have they been able to do that? Because right now they will tell you most of the resources, the things that, you know, have been approved for them in the budget have not been released to them. So you wonder what the federal government is actually talking about the 80%, you know, implementation of the 2024 budget.
All right, then still on The Guardian, grid collapse may worsen as Gencos lost 66.26 billion naira, 1,866 megawatt to load rejection. What is your take on this?
Well, you can see most of the papers didn't even consider, you know, the collapse of the grid, you know, important enough to be on the cover. Because if you look at this year alone, you know, the grid has collapsed, you know, like 6-7 times. So it has become something that like normal. So if it is normal, you know, journalists will not pay attention to it, but it has repercussions, it has consequences. If with all the things that Nigerians are paying right now, if you are on band A, for instance, you know, you are paying through your nose, and then you are not even guaranteed stable electricity, despite the fact that you are paying, you know, exorbitant price for it. So the government should, you know, look at that sector again. You know, if the players cannot do it, there is nothing wrong in reviewing, you know, the whole exercise, because right now you can see the discos, the Gencos, you know, they can hardly even access the power that we generate. That's the power that the Gencos will generate. The discos can hardly have access them because they can't pay for them. Probably the level of investment in the sector. But the government is also worried about the fact that it's spending lots of money, you know, subsidizing the job of this discos and what have you. Like if you go to one of the discos, I think Yola Disco also, because they are operating in some difficult environment. It is the same government that will now come with, ways of like giving them money so that they don't go under because of what is happening. Like if they come to tell the government that we cannot operate in Maiduguri, for instance, in some parts of Adamawa and Yobe because of the insurgency and what have you, they just declare force majeure, and before you know it, the government is, at their doorstep trying to help them weather the storm. So if we are able to like review the things that we have right now in the power sector, maybe we begin to see some development. But this issue of national grid collapsing, with the level of development in the sector right now, I don't see it ending anytime soon.
All right, Mele Nasser, before we go, quickly, what would you say about Nigeria recording 15,000 suicide cases yearly with just, should I say, the conclusion of the celebration of the International Day for Suicide Prevention? So what is your take on that?
Well, I also saw a story about, I think, the health minister saying that by December they will decriminalize, attempted suicide. I think even if that's the way we want to go, I think it's maybe premature to start telling people about this, because right now people are dealing with so many issues, and if you don't, like family members, friends, if you don't get to help the people that are, depressed and what have you, we'll continue to see issues of attempted suicide and what have you. Even though some will say, some are just doing it without even knowing whether they want to live or they want to die. Like you see somebody trying to hang himself and then shouting, trying to draw attention to his condition so that probably some may help him or what have you. So I think it's education that we need. We need to sensitize the people, to know that because you are depressed, because you don't have things your way now, that does not mean, things will not change for you. So if we are able to pass this kind of messages, probably we'll begin to see reduction in the number of suicide and attempted suicide in the country.
All right. Thank you very much, Mele Nasser, for helping us review the front pages of our national dailies.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and with that, we've come to the end of Daybreak on Trust TV. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. so you don't miss out on interesting and engaging conversations. I'm Hawa Ademikiawa. Thank you for watching.
And I am Mimuna Baguda. As always, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for our live stream. Do have a great day. Bye-bye.